The courtroom fell into an eerie silence as Elon Musk stepped through the doors, dressed in a simple black suit. Despite his modest attire, his sharp gaze and subtle smirk carried an unmistakable air of defiance. Musk, the visionary billionaire behind Tesla, SpaceX, and X, was not just walking into a legal battle, he was walking into a war. He faced serious accusations from a powerful aerospace rival, claiming that SpaceX had stolen trade secrets to dominate the space industry. Media cameras flashed furiously, capturing every second of the spectacle, while crowds outside the courthouse chanted his name. But inside, all attention shifted as Judge Evelyn Hart entered, stern, composed, and surrounded by rumors of corruption and bribery. When the bailiff called "All rise," the entire courtroom stood in respect, except for Musk. Calmly seated, he tapped his fingers on the table, signaling that he would not submit to a system he no longer trusted. When ordered to stand, Musk coldly responded, "I don't stand for someone who sold out the future." His words hit like a thunderclap. The room gasped. Reporters scrambled to document the moment. And with that single sentence, Musk didn't just challenge the authority of the court, he declared open rebellion against what he believed to be a rigged system. Elon Musk's refusal to stand wasn't just a personal act of resistance, it was a public declaration. As murmurs rippled through the courtroom, cameras zoomed in, capturing every twitch of Judge Evelyn Hart's tightening jaw and Musk's unwavering posture. She demanded compliance. He replied with bold defiance, accusing her aloud of being a puppet of a rotten system. The courtroom exploded. Spectators gasped, some clapped, others whispered in shock. On social media, the moment went viral within minutes. The hashtag number Musk versus the system skyrocketed to the top of X trends. Live streams of the trial circulated rapidly, drawing millions of viewers worldwide. Judge Hart, rattled and red-faced, ordered Musk detained for contempt of court. But even as two officers escorted him out, Musk turned, locked eyes with her, and warned, "The truth will find you, Evelyn Hart, and I'll be the one to bring it." Outside, the chaos escalated. Protesters gathered, holding up signs like "Free Elon" and "Truth over Corruption." Fans chanted his name, live-streaming every moment. Musk's post on X, accusing Judge Hart of being bought by his rivals, was shared tens of thousands of times within an hour. Though behind bars, Musk was far from silenced. His message had already ignited a firestorm, inside the courtroom, across the internet, and around the world. The trial was no longer a legal proceeding. It was a spectacle, and Musk was now both the defendant and the director. As Elon Musk sat in a holding cell, the courtroom and the internet became battlegrounds for truth, perception, and control. Judge Evelyn Hart, now at the center of public scrutiny, retreated into her chambers, shaken. She met with Victor Grayson, a powerful, shadowy lawyer linked to Musk's rivals. The tension was clear. If they didn't act fast, Musk's influence would crush them. Grayson proposed a bold counterattack. A fabricated witness, forged emails, and manipulated evidence to paint Musk as a lawbreaker willing to threaten employees and hide SpaceX's violations. Evelyn hesitated, worried about being caught, but she was already too deep. With the media spinning out of control and protesters outside chanting Musk's name, she agreed to the plan. It was no longer about justice, it was about survival. Meanwhile, Musk's network sprang into action. Despite being locked up, he activated a hidden communication device, directing his team to dig into Hart's finances and expose her ties to Grayson. His message was clear. "I don't need proof to win. I just need the public to believe me. The rest will follow." On X, the narrative shifted like wildfire. Anonymous accounts began leaking suspicious bank transactions linked to Judge Hart. Posts accusing her of bribery gained traction, and calls to investigate her background flooded the platform. Outside the courthouse, the crowd swelled. Screens replayed Musk's courtroom defiance, engineers gave speeches, and chants of "Expose Hart," echoed through the streets. Inside, Judge Hart gripped her gavel tighter than ever, but she was no longer in control. The real trial was unfolding outside, online, and in the hearts of millions who had picked a side. The legal process had become a war of influence, and Musk was winning. While the courtroom buzzed and social media blazed, a darker game was unfolding in the shadows. Judge Evelyn Hart, desperate to regain control, fully committed to Victor Grayson's plan. In her chambers, she received fake evidence. Forged emails from Musk allegedly threatening staff and covering up launch violations, and a witness, James Carter, a disgruntled ex-SpaceX engineer, willing to lie under oath. Despite her initial hesitation, Hart knew she had no other option. The system was crumbling around her, and Musk was the one pulling the threads. Grayson reassured her coldly, "Get these into court before he turns public opinion into a weapon. We'll bury him with lies before he buries us with truth." Meanwhile, Musk was orchestrating his counterattack from inside the holding cell. Calm and calculating, he pulled a disguised SpaceX-engineered communication pen from his jacket. Through it, he contacted his aide, Sarah Klein, instructing her to launch a full digital offensive. Investigate Evelyn Hart's offshore bank accounts. Expose any financial ties to Grayson and Musk's corporate enemies. Mobilize public opinion with coordinated PR strategies. When Sarah hesitated, citing a lack of solid proof, Musk replied with a smirk, "I don't need proof to start the fire, just suspicion. The public will do the rest." Soon after, the courtroom filled with whispers. Screenshots of suspicious financial records began circulating on X. Accusations of corruption swirled, unverified but believable. Hacker groups like Truth Diggers joined the fray, announcing they were actively tracing Hart's financial activities and digital footprints. Outside, the crowd was no longer just a protest. It was a movement. Live streams, signs, chants, and influencer endorsements amplified the narrative Musk wanted, that this wasn't just a trial. It was a revolution against a broken system. Inside, Hart tried to maintain her grip on authority, but with each minute it became clearer. The system she relied on to control the case was already slipping through her fingers. The battle escalated from the courtroom to the digital battlefield with full force. Musk's strategy was no longer just legal, it was psychological, viral, and relentless. Within hours of the forged witness plan being deployed, Musk's followers and allied hacker groups began striking back. On X, the hashtag #U-Expose, Hart overtook trending charts, accompanied by screenshots of questionable bank transactions tied to shell companies linked to Victor Grayson. Real or fake, it didn't matter. The court of public opinion was already leaning in Musk's favor. Then came the next wave. James Carter, the fake witness, took the stand and claimed Musk had ignored environmental violations and threatened him. He even presented doctored emails. For a moment, Hart regained a sliver of control. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs of doubt. Even Musk's supporters hesitated. But not for long. Just as Carter's testimony reached its peak, the Truth Diggers dropped a bomb on X. Carter's emails are fake, created on a non-SpaceX server, linked to Victor Grayson. The internet erupted. Screenshots, metadata breakdowns, and video analysis flooded the platform. An old photo of Carter and Grayson attending a private event together went viral, accompanied by captions like, "Neutral witness?" More like "planted puppet." Meanwhile, in the courtroom, Musk remained calm. He didn't need to shout. His smirk said it all. He knew the public was already dismantling the lie. Judge Hart's face paled as reporters inside the courtroom received live notifications of the leaks. Phones lit up, and whispers turned to open outcries. Musk stood again, looking straight at the crowd, and said, "The truth doesn't need me to stand, but it'll make him fall." The courtroom burst into noise. Hart's gavel slammed furiously, but order was gone. Outside, a giant screen replayed Musk's words as the protest crowd swelled. Chants of "fake witness" and "we want the truth" shook the street. Inside and out, the balance had shifted again, not because of lawyers or legal motions, but because Musk weaponized the truth, or at least the belief in it. The courtroom, already teetering on the edge, plunged into total disorder the moment Elon Musk was brought back in. No longer handcuffed, he walked in not as a defendant, but as a symbol of rebellion. Cameras flashed, the audience buzzed, and Judge Evelyn Hart gripped her gavel with white-knuckled tension. Attempting to reassert authority, Hart declared, "Mr. Musk, you were detained for contempt. I hope you've learned your lesson." But her voice cracked, and the room could feel it. She was no longer in charge. Musk responded coolly, "If you want me to comply, I'll stand. But not for you, only to watch you fall." The audience erupted again. Some clapped, some shouted, others live-streamed every second. Hart's attempts to silence the room with her gavel were useless. Then Musk raised a hand, and the room fell silent. It wasn't the judge they were listening to anymore. It was him. He requested to represent himself. No lawyers, no filters. Reluctantly, Hart agreed, afraid to appear like she was suppressing him. What followed was theatrical and devastating. Musk stepped to the center like a speaker at a tech conference, voice firm. "They say I'm here because of stolen secrets, but I say I'm here because powerful people paid this judge to silence me." He pointed straight at Hart. "I don't have proof in my hand yet, but the public already knows the truth, and they're watching." Chaos followed. Reporters shouted. Spectators stood. Phones lit up as thousands live-streamed the moment. When Hart tried to cut him off, Musk said, "You fear slander. But what if it's not slander? What if it's truth?" Just then, a reporter raised their phone and announced breaking news. A recording of Hart and Grayson discussing Musk's removal had leaked. It played on a screen in the courtroom, Hart's voice clear, admitting to taking bribes, planning to plant false evidence, and keeping Musk detained. The room went dead silent. Then, exploded. Shouts of "She's corrupt" and "Justice for Musk" echoed from every corner. Hart pounded her gavel, screaming, "This is fabricated," but her voice was drowned by the noise. Musk turned to the audience, raised a hand, and declared, "Justice doesn't need me to stand. It just needs the truth, and now you have it." At that moment, Judge Evelyn Hart, once feared and powerful, dropped her gavel. It clattered loudly on the desk, echoing like a signal of her fall from grace. The courtroom, now fully overtaken by Musk's momentum, had transformed into a stage for justice, and Judge Evelyn Hart was no longer the director, but the villain exposed under the spotlight. As the damning audio continued to play, her face drained of color. Her voice, once stern and commanding, was now frantic and trembling. She screamed, "This is slander. I didn't take money from anyone." But it was too late. Sarah Klein, Musk's legal ally, stood up with calm authority and presented a thick folder. Official bank records. $2 million wired from a shell company tied to Victor Grayson into Evelyn Hart's private account. The timing matched the exact date she took on Musk's case. The final blow came when a cracked chat log between Hart and Grayson appeared on a giant screen, revealing the chilling message, "Musk must be silenced at any cost." The courtroom exploded again, this time not in chaos, but in righteous fury. Spectators leapt to their feet, reporters scrambled, phones flashed. Outside, the crowd screamed in triumph as the news hit global headlines. And then, justice entered the room. Senior Judge Robert Vance, flanked by security, strode in. His voice was firm, echoing across the courtroom. "Judge Hart, based on verified evidence, I order your immediate suspension pending investigation. Mr. Musk, you are hereby released." Stunned, Evelyn Hart could barely stand. Her hands shook as officers approached. "You'll pay for this, Musk," she hissed, eyes burning with hatred. He replied with chilling calm, "Go ahead. Try." I've survived worse than corruption in a robe. She was led away, her heels clicking in rhythm with her downfall. The gavel she once controlled now silent on the desk she would never return to outside the courthouse. Thousands celebrated. Screens replayed her voice from the leaked call, over and over, a digital obituary for her career. On X, hashtags like "No Musk wins," "Heart suspended," and "Justice over corruption" flooded timelines inside. Musk stood still, not in victory, but in vindication. He had done what few dared, exposed the system, turned the tide, and brought down a judge, not with violence but with truth, data, and the power of the people. Evelyn Hart was gone, but the echoes of her fall still thundered through the courtroom, the city streets, and across the internet. As she was escorted away in disgrace, Elon Musk didn't celebrate. He simply stood at the center of it all, calm, composed, and commanding. A man who had turned a legal trap into a global reckoning. Outside, the crowd erupted. Screens replayed the moment Hart's corruption was exposed, while Musk's voice from past interviews echoed through loudspeakers. Truth is the only thing worth fighting for. Social media exploded. Hashtags like #TruthWins, #FixTheSystem, and #Hart exposed topped global trends. Musk's final message on X that day read, "This isn't my victory. It's the truth's. But we're not done yet." It hit millions of likes within hours, with comments flooding in from supporters across the world calling him a hero, a reformer, and a symbol of resistance against institutional decay. But not everyone applauded. Some media outlets accused Musk of manipulating public opinion and weaponizing the mob. A Fox News commentator warned, "He won today, but SpaceX still stands trial. Don't mistake charisma for innocence." Meanwhile, Musk's team regrouped. Sarah Klein reminded them that while Hart had fallen, Victor Grayson was still free, and the SpaceX lawsuit remained. "We've won the war for public trust," she said, "but the legal battle is far from over." In a sealed office somewhere far from the courthouse, Victor Grayson watched the fallout on screen, swirling a glass of whiskey in his hand. A message lit up his phone. "Hart's gone," he replied. "Then we strike first." Musk thinks he won, but this was just round one. Back in the streets, fireworks lit up the sky as Musk's supporters celebrated. But beneath the cheers was an undercurrent of something deeper, a symbolic shift. A billionaire had challenged a judge and won, not just with evidence but with narrative, technology, and the people. In a world where truth is often buried under bureaucracy, Musk proved that with the right tools and the right voice, anyone could rewrite the rules. Though Evelyn Hart had been exposed and suspended, the real architect of the scheme, Victor Grayson, remained untouched, lurking in the shadows. While Musk's supporters flooded the streets in celebration and the internet crowned him a modern-day crusader, Victor was already planning his next move. From a private office in a distant city, he stared out the window, his jaw clenched, phone in hand. The message from his associate was brief. "Hart's gone." Musk's crowd is out of control. Grayson didn't panic. Instead, he typed back, "She was the front. I'm still holding the game board. If Musk targets me, then we strike first." Despite the celebratory noise echoing from the courthouse, the real fight wasn't over. Musk's team knew it. Sarah Klein gathered with her legal staff in their temporary war room, face lit by screens, eyes scanning updates from SpaceX tech analysts. They had just verified more suspicious bank data, this time directly linking Grayson to shell corporations and forged documents used in the case. But as Sarah whispered to Jake, her second-in-command, "The court won't accept hacker leaks. We need hard, legal proof." Outside, chants still rang out, "Truth for Musk! Expose Grayson!" Fans held up signs calling for Victor to be investigated. Memes, videos, and livestream breakdowns flooded X. A popular post read, "Hart was just the pawn. Grayson's the king. Checkmate coming." But Grayson wasn't idle. He was already coordinating new strategies. possibly new witnesses, media distractions, or even legal countersuits. Back in the courtroom, Musk remained composed. He knew Hart was only the beginning. Leaning against his Tesla as cameras swarmed, he whispered to Sarah, "Grayson's next, and this time we won't just expose him, we'll bury him with the truth." The crowd erupted once again, but in a quiet alley several blocks away, a small group gathered with signs reading, "Justice for Hart." Musk is not above the law. Though small in number, they were a reminder. Public opinion is powerful, but never unanimous. The chessboard was still in play. Musk had taken a queen, but the king was moving silently, preparing his next attack. The public saw a victory, but behind the scenes, a new storm was building. As the dust settled outside the courthouse, the crowd still roared with triumph. Musk had emerged victorious in the battle against Judge Evelyn Hart, but the war was far from over. The lawsuit against SpaceX remained, and more importantly, the system Musk sought to dismantle was still standing, with Victor Grayson operating as its cold and calculating enforcer. Inside a temporary legal office near the courthouse, Sarah Klein stood at the window, gazing at the thinning crowd. She turned to her team and said quietly, "Hart's gone. But Grayson's not just dangerous, he's prepared. And the system, it's still trying to crush us." Meanwhile, on X, the movement Musk had started took on a life of its own. Musk, victory, expose. Grayson, fix. The system. All surged to global trending. Supporters from around the world posted videos, art, and messages calling Musk a symbol of defiance, a man who refused to bow, who turned a courtroom into a battlefield and weaponized truth against corruption. But skepticism grew too. Critics warned, this isn't justice, it's digital mob rule. Elon Musk turned the legal system into a viral campaign. What happens when power lies not in evidence, but in influence? In a sealed government building, Victor Grayson met with undisclosed allies. His tone was steel. Musk changed the game. So we change the board. We'll discredit him. We'll isolate him. And when the next trial begins, we'll make sure he stands alone. Back at the SpaceX legal war room, Musk reviewed new documents from his tech team. Encrypted chats between Grayson and powerful political figures had been 80% cracked. The full truth was almost within reach. He turned to Sarah and said, "They think this was the ending." But it was just Act 1. Later that night, Musk posted on X, "The system is broken. I won't stop until it's rebuilt, with the truth at the core. Thanks to everyone who stood with me. This was never about me. It was about all of us." The post shattered engagement records. But beneath the momentum, everyone on his team felt it. The fight ahead would be even more dangerous because this time, the enemy would be smarter, quieter, and more desperate. Outside, a large screen replayed Musk's final words in court. "Justice doesn't need me to stand. It just needs the truth." The crowd applauded again. But in the shadows, Evelyn Hart sat in silence, humiliated, but not defeated. And Victor Grayson stared into the night, whispering, "Your move, Elon." As the story unfolds, Elon Musk's battle against Judge Evelyn Hart and the corrupt system around her reaches a dramatic climax. The courtroom, social media, and public opinion all become pivotal arenas in this fight for justice. Musk's defiance, combined with his ability to rally the public and expose corruption, turns what seemed like a legal battle into a symbolic stand for truth and transparency. But beyond the spectacle and the immediate victory, this story reveals deeper lessons about power, justice, and the fight against systemic corruption. Now let's reflect on the lessons learned from this extraordinary confrontation. The power of truth and justice. The story of Elon Musk and Judge Evelyn Hart highlights the undeniable power of truth in challenging systems and authority. Despite facing manipulation and deceit, Musk used truth and strong evidence to expose the corrupt forces within the legal system. The lesson here is that truth always prevails, even when faced with strong resistance from powerful individuals. 2. The influence of media and public power. This story shows how media and social platforms can completely shift the course of a battle. Musk knew how to leverage social media, particularly X, Twitter, to spread his message and rally public support. The participation of the public, both inside and outside the courtroom, helped Musk gain overwhelming support and influence the outcome of the case. This demonstrates that the public can change the outcome of a struggle when they stand up for the truth. 3. Power and manipulation. Within the system. A key lesson is how power can be manipulated by individuals or organizations for their own gain. Judge Evelyn Hart and Victor Grayson are prime examples of corruption within the legal system, where power is used not to serve justice but to protect the powerful. This story encourages us to question and confront systems that lack transparency. Never surrender to injustice. Musk did not give up in the face of systemic pressure, even when threatened and cornered. He stood his ground and fought not just for himself but for everyone trapped in an unjust system. This reminds us that perseverance and determination can change the world, even when facing powerful and unjust forces. 5. Innovation is necessary, but it must be responsible. Finally, this story emphasizes that innovation and systemic change are necessary, but it must be accompanied by responsibility to ensure that such changes serve justice and transparency. Musk and his followers created a movement, but the story is far from over. They must continue to fight not just against individuals, but against a system that can easily be exploited by those in power,